In this video, we are going to create a script that asks the user for a number and outputs in the standard output the contents of the line with that number in the text file called makelist.txt. And I already have here the code that I created in another video, where we were always outputting the contents of line 4. And now what we need to do is adapt that so that we receive the number from the user instead of always being line 4. And I'm going to do it with the two different options that we discussed in that video, starting with the second option, which I don't think is the best, but does bring us some value. So what we want is not to have the 4, and here the 3, which is the index for if we start at 0, but to have the number coming from the user. And so to get the number from a user, we would do, I'm going to create a variable called the user number to store the number that the user inserts. And then I'm going to do input and send a message to the user. Please insert the number of the line that you want to retrieve. And if I do this, the number is going to be stored as a string, not as an integer. So I need Python to evaluate that string into a number. And so now, as I mentioned before in other videos, you want to test what you are doing. So a good way of doing that is print user number. Then you need to remember to delete this so that your code is clean and doesn't produce outputs that are not expected or required. But for now, we do this to make sure that before, and we know that everything that is coming here is going to generate Bentley, so whatever comes before is going to be the number that the user inserted. So please insert the number of the line that you want to retrieve. I'm going to say 9. And I got the user number 9, and I still got the 4 from what's there. But yes, the user number now contains that 9. This is a good way to get the value of those variables without having to kind of debug what we are doing. So I'm happy with that. I can delete this line. I don't longer need it. But now, instead of having a 4, what I want is the user number. And instead of comparing I with the 3, I'm going to compare it with user number minus 1. Because we are starting at 0. So now, when I do this, if I ask for a 9, I got Chevrolet. Let me go to my file and see if that's correct. So line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Line is Chevrolet, that's correct. Of course, this might still result in a problem if the user decides to insert a number that we don't have in the document, and that's why you want to either check the input to validate for the range that you know that is in the file, or surround this with a try except, as we have discussed in another video. So if the user inserts an 898, 898, nothing came from that file because it was consuming, and when it got to 898 there was nothing there. So we just don't get an output, and there we are. In the other option, we will actually run away from the size of that list. So this is how we would do it. It would be a good practice to have the try except, but this is how we would do it for this second option. For the first option, let me comment all of this out. And I still need to input the value from the user. Remove those comments. But now the variable that I want, the position that I want to is no longer the 3, but user number minus 1. Remember that indexes start in 0. So now we are going to try the 9 Chevrolet, and again, if we try a big number, this time we don't even get an empty space. This time we get an index, a list index out of range, because our variable list is not that big. And so you want again to use the try except to handle that type of situations.